Desperate to survive the rising tides, the fisherfolk of the coastal provinces resorted to a debased worship of the sea.
What's up, y'all? It's Shuffle, and today's video is discussing the predictions that I have for Darkest Dungeon 2's upcoming patch for the Cove region. So I hope you enjoyed the little teaser that Wayne gave us. It sounds like the dialogue we're probably getting upon entering the region. But this is the second update that's coming. They're called milestones. They're not like months, so it's not like month 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is the second one, so that's why I have the roadmap up. And please ignore, where is it here? Please ignore this. You know, that's like Shuffception or whatever happening over here. This is just the Twitter thread. But yeah, so in this one, we're getting a new barnacle encrusted region. So that's probably a cove-like thing or a beach region or something like that. This might be the beach episode of the anime. If you're familiar with Darkest Dungeon 1, the Cove was a region there. We're going to get a new enemy faction. So fully loaded here. We're going to get a new lair boss. Act 2 final boss. We don't know how Act 2 is going to work. And then we're getting story content. Not quite sure what that is. Probably something for like, you know, the start of Act 2, maybe the final boss. I'm not sure. And then permanent hero upgrades. They have not told us any of what this is going to be yet. But that's the purpose of this video. It's to try and predict, I guess, what's happening. So the barnacle region, probably something reminiscent of the Cove. Pretty easy to understand that one. New enemy faction. It sounds like from the teaser dialogue that the fishmongers, fishfolk, whatever they are, fisherfolk, are worshiping a sea god. So this is probably what, you know, spoilers for DD1. This is probably what Ancestor sacrificed the Siren to. It's not going to be Siren herself, I'd imagine. I really don't think they're going to copy paste Siren, but we'll talk about that later. So we're going to get a new lair boss, which is cool. The enemy faction, though, I think this is probably going to be like mutated fish people. So it's probably going to be something close to what the Cove was. It was either that or potentially like undead pirates, but it sounds like they're really going into the, I guess the Innsmouth or Innsmouth or however you say it's type of story, I would assume. So that's pretty cool. Act 2 final boss, we don't know how this is going to work yet at all. We don't know if it's going to be just the same run and having a different boss at the end, which would be kind of flat and a little bit lame, honestly, but I'll still take it, right? I'm happy for any content, but hopefully there are other changes. Story content, not sure what that is. Permanent hero upgrades, no idea what this could be at all. I don't think it's going to be like permanent skill mastery or something like that. I think it's going to be anything, honestly. It could be like starting trinkets, starting skills, or picking paths. I don't know, but that's it. So the rest of the stuff we're not going to cover. We'll come to this when it's more appropriate. But as far as predicting what's going to happen here, I guess I'll start with the timetable. So I think this is probably going to be like 3 to 6 weeks. I was going to say 4, probably like 4 to 6 weeks out, just because the teaser line makes it sound like they're moving along to like finalizing it. But also something that people have been saying to me in like my Discord and around the community and stuff like that, that makes a lot of sense, is that they're going through the hero path things. I don't know if you've seen these yet. I don't feel like digging for it, but they've, on their Twitter and in Discord, they've been doing this series where they evaluate each hero's paths. So their specific upgrades they get for, you know, random chance or whatever when you start a new run. And those upgrades have been really fun. So the paths are just a really cool addition. So kudos to whoever came up with that. But what people are assuming is they're going to go through the guides that they're making for all the hero paths and the community involvement. They're going to go through all of those first, and then they're going to drop the patch on us. So if they follow that trend, I think they have 3 more classes to go through. I think is it Occultist? I think Occultist, Hellion, and Man-at-Arms. And it looks like Occultist might be 3rd, because really no one wants to talk about Ravager or Bulwark. Who cares? So I think those things are going to happen first. That makes a lot of sense. And then once those happen, then they'll probably give us a patch update. So either patch notes or the patch itself. This is really just to tide us over, no pun intended, until we get to that patch. So as far as what's going to be in the patch for the enemies, I'm really assuming it's going to be like a coastal region with maybe like sporadic fishing villages, something like that. I don't know if you remember the, God, what's her name? From Berserk, she's the fisher girl they find on the island. I forget her name. It starts with an I. It's like Isma or something. And I think it's going to be something kind of like that, where not like Berserk reference, obviously, but that's kind of what I'm envisioning in terms of like fish folk and the village and stuff like that. So with that, I don't think it's gonna be like a big city of fishing and stuff like that, like a big trading hub, because the Sprawl is already kind of the big city deal. And so it's either gonna be that, or it's gonna be just like a cave dive going through that, like the Cove itself. So it could be either of those. And as far as the enemies involved, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be fish people instead of the undead pirates. And so just looking at the Darkest Dungeon 1 enemies, and I'm gonna show the bosses for the Cove, which many of you probably don't care, so hopefully, I'm sorry if there's spoilers. But for that, you know, we have the groupers. These are jokingly referred to as Cove lepers because they just do one thing, and that's hit really hard. Then we have shamans, guardians, the snails, jellyfish, and then we get to the undead things like the thrall, and then Uka crab, squiffy gas, and then the bosses. I'm gonna say Byrons. The bosses like Siren and Crew, and I think someone's meowing at the door. Yes, we had a visitor. It's the Echo Baby. But yeah, so the bosses that could be in the Cove, I don't think, or Cove region or whatever, I don't think they're going to just copy paste Siren. She would kind of make sense if they did that, but I don't know if they're going to go with the charm mechanic. Probably not. I'm assuming it might be the sea god that the fish people or the fisher folk were worshipping. So there's that. But otherwise, I think if we consider the other bosses, like they all have their own, for lack of a better explanation, like unique mechanics. Like the librarian tries to burn through all the books and then kill you at the end. The harvest child tries to really disrupt your turns with blinding and hunger. And then the general, like, really tries to just make you hate the game, right? Because of how unfun that fight is. But that's kind of the ideas behind them. And so I'm joking, the general's gimmick is if you don't have reach, it's going to strangle your party. But otherwise, with a Cove boss, I'm not quite sure what they would do, like conceptually. I don't think they're going to go with charming like the Siren has, but I do see if they wanted to, sorry about that, if they wanted to rehash something out of the Cove bosses, I think they may do some kind of fish boss, but it's going to kind of function like the Drowned Crew, where the Crew is a fight where you have to either control the little minion that it summons, or you have to switch targeting. And I could see them doing some kind of boss fight where you have to really prioritize targeting and swap constantly. That could be something. Obviously, this could be entirely wrong, and it could be something else. But, you know, if I was to pilfer a mechanic from the Cove bosses, it would be probably the target swapping of the Crew on something else like a fish boss. As far as returning enemies go, I could see them just bringing back the crab, the Uka crab, as just the size 2 enemy. I could see the jellyfish maybe coming back, and then as far as just general, you know, like foot soldiers, these 3 probably will come back in some kind of reminiscent capacity, but be reworked in different ways. The grouper, you know, maybe a different kind of fish person or an octopus person, I don't know, and they just do damage and have reach. The shaman, another support thing that buffs damage, I could easily see that. And then as far as tanks go, maybe the snail's the tank now, I don't know. But otherwise, I could see the jellyfish specifically coming back just because it's kind of this overall dangerous enemy that does a lot of things, you know. It can stun you, it can bleed you, and it can disease you, which are things, you know, Red Hook greatly likes doing to the players in DD2 specifically. So I could definitely see this just being copy pasted back into the game. So I think that's all I have in terms of predicting what's going to happen here for enemies. For trinkets, it's really hard to say just because a lot of the trinkets in DD2 currently are pretty, I don't say generic, but they're very like general in terms of catching many things. So it's either, you know, just flat resist trinkets or flat damage or extra action, just different ways, self-healing. Like, I don't quite know what type of trinket they could do that's exclusive to the Cove or like the Cove theme that you would find there. Although every region does have like specific trinkets that you can find in them. But I feel like the other ones just really encompass many things, and I don't really see off the top what you could get from the Cove. And now, in case you're worried about spoilers, I will talk about the final boss of DD2 for chapter 1, and then I'll try and, explain myself here for what I think chapter 2 might be. So I'm going to give you a couple seconds. If you have to click off the video, I understand. Then 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. Okay. So obviously we're going through like the stages of grief. That's kind of the theme with the chapter so far. So the first one's denial. The second one should be anger, if I'm not mistaken. And so whatever that final boss will be, it could be an organ, because so far in the final bosses of both games, they've been organs, like human body part organs. And so what could this be? I don't know if it'll be another brain like the denial bosses and the locks and stuff. I could see this being more of just like a singular entity, maybe just like a size 4 type of entity, or size 2 or something like that. And when it could be size 4, right? Because that way every playstyle can function against it, or maybe size 3, I'm not sure. But anyway, so it could be just one large type of boss that just probably does a ton of damage to you. I don't know what other unique mechanics they could come up with. I don't see a come unto your maker type of situation for this encounter, but since it's anger, maybe your team gets angry at each other more than they already do with the negative relationships, and maybe, every turn or like set threshold, it makes your team like inflict self-harm or attack each other, something like that. It could be something, kind of dangerous that way, like straight up full team, like vulnerability token cleave, and then, right after that, your team has to attack each other. So you have to prepare that way, right? Just ideas. But it's definitely going to follow, I'm assuming it's definitely going to follow the grief theme. So that's what we're going with here. And that's just my, initial prediction. I have no insider knowledge, obviously, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully they give us some patch notes soon, TM, because I'm excited. I definitely look for reasons to get excited for this game and keep playing it, just because, I do enjoy the series, and obviously I'm a content creator, but I do enjoy the game first and foremost. But otherwise, that's, I think, all I got for you today. So thanks for listening to that. I know it's kind of just a lot of more of a dialogue type of video, just, conversing with you. So I do appreciate you spending the time here. And that's it for this one. Let me know what you're thinking down in the comments, and join Discord and all that if you want to talk about it. And I bit my lip, and I'll see you next time.